Jai Anilo Premadano Paramakacho Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Gopi Jana Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yasodhanandana Raja Jananandana Yasodhanandana Raja Jananandana Jamuna Tira Vanachate Jamuna Tira Vanachate Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Gopi Jana Ajasodhanandana Raja Jananandana Ajasodhanandana Raja Jananandana Jamuna Tira Jamuna Tira Jai Radha Madhava Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 16, Text number 5. Api Vakushalam Kinchit Griheshu Grihamedini Dhammasyartasya Kamasya Yatra Yogo Hi Ayoginam Api Vakushalam Kinchit Griheshu Grihamedini Dharmayartasya Kamasya Yatra Yogo Hi Yoginam. Va. Either. Akushalam. Inauspicious. Kinchit. Some. Griheshu. At home. Griha Medini. O my wife who are attached to household life. Dharmasya. Of the principles of religion. Artasya. Of the economic condition. Kamasya. Of satisfaction of desires. Yatra. At home. Yoga. The result of meditation. He. Indeed. Ayoginam. Even of those who are not transcendentalists. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O my wife, who are very much attached to household life, if the principles of religion, economic development, and satisfaction of the senses are properly followed in household life, one's activities are as good as those of a transcendentalist. I wonder whether there have been any discrepancies in following these principles. In this verse, Aditi has been addressed by her husband Kashyapa Muni as Griha Medini, which means one who is satisfied in household life to sense gratification. Generally, those who are in household life pursue sense gratification in the field of activities performed for material results. Such Griha Medis have only one aim in life, sense gratification. Therefore it is said, Yan Maithunadi Grihamedi Sukham Hituchcham. The householder's life is based on sense gratification, and therefore the happiness derived from it is very meager. Nonetheless, the Vedic process is so comprehensive that even in household life, one can adjust his activities according to the regulative principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. One's aim should be to achieve liberation. But because one cannot at once give up sense gratification, in the Shastras there are injunctions prescribing how to follow the principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. As explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 129, Dharma sihi apavardasya nartho vitayo kalpate. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Those who are in household life should not think that religion is meant to improve the process of householders' sense gratification. Household life is also meant for advancement in spiritual understanding, by which one can ultimately gain liberation from the material clutches. One should remain in household life with the aim of understanding the ultimate goal of life, tattva jignasa. Then household life is as good as the life of a yogi. Kashyapa Muni therefore inquired from his wife whether the principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification were being properly followed in terms of the Shastric injunctions. As soon as one deviates from the injunctions of Shastra, the purpose of household life is immediately lost in confusion. One of the things that Prabhupada wrote in an early part of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that all his students, all the young men and ladies should get properly married. And in fact, the ashrama, the vow of sannyas, is actually restricted in the Kali Yuga. It says that some things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. One of them is to perform the horse sacrifice, Aswamedha Yajna. One of them is to beget children in the wife of one's brother, because in the previous times, if the husband died and there was no issue, and the woman was not with any children, then the husband could beget children through her. The brother could beget children, but this is no longer permitted. And the reason is that the brother, in other words, in previous yuga, people were so dharmic, so religious, they could actually engage in that sexual act as a duty to their brother without considering, this is my wife. They could actually think, this is my brother's wife, and I'm simply acting on his behalf. But that type of possibility, that type of mental control of, that degree of love is not possible in the Kali Yuga, and so it's not permitted. And sannyas is also said to be not permitted. So one may say, well, you are a sannyasi, so what happened? Why have you disregarded the injunctions of Scripture? Well, the fact is that there has been sannyas generally the sannyas order was done by the impersonalist Mayavadis. And you'll see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas from Keshav Bharati, right? And he was in the Shankara line. So generally it was not done. However, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has said, and he made many sannyasis, and this was just part of his radical change. In fact, he got them putting on saffron. He did a whole thing to establish the sannyasa ashram for the purpose, one major purpose, to increase service to Guru. And one major way to increase the service to Guru, by preaching. So he created the sannyas ashram as a vehicle or opportunity for increased preaching. In other words, to the sannyasi. Generally, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas, and generally in that line, you give up your brahmachari title. You change your name. I remember, for example, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers one day, he said to me, he knew me when I was a grihasta. I was a grihasta for perhaps a year and a half. So he knew me. When he first met me, I was a grihasta. So he saw me, he said, what is your sannyas name? So I said, Tamal Krishna Goswami. He said, no, that cannot be your sannyas name. That was your brahmachari name, or your initiated name. I said, well, my Guru Maharaj kept that name. He said, oh, that's not proper. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not give up the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya, which was his initiated brahmachari name. And his name he had in household life. Why? And Prabhupada gives in the purport why. Because he wanted to retain the mood of being the servant of his guru. In the Mayavadi Sampradaya, the reason that you change your name when you get sannyas is that by becoming a sannyasi, you become equal to Narayan. You become Narayan. That's why when the Mayavadi sannyasis, like if you go to Rishikesh or Hardwar, where there's, it's a real den of Mayavadi sannyasis where they hang out. They don't shoot pools, not that kind. But they hang out there. And, when they greet each other, I was very surprised. When I walked down the street, they all went, Namo Narayan. Obeisances to Narayan. They greet each other as Narayan. So, the Vaishnava sannyasis, of course, this is unthinkable, and this is the worst of all things. So they keep their name, and therefore we see. And again, it's so nice how, Srila Prabhupada kept his sannyasis names generally. Occasionally he changed them, but basically he kept their names. So, although it is very difficult. In other words, actually, it is recommended that one should enter Grihastha ashram. We see that in the discussions with Kardama Muni, Devahuti. Kardama Muni says, you are the safe ship by which I can sail across the ocean of material existence. In other words, the husband and wife are meant to help each other in so many ways to regulate and control their senses. The key word here is regulation. It does not say, it's already admitted that household life is a provision or what does Prabhupada use the word? Allowance. Huh? A license, yes. Householder life is a license for sense gratification. But what does the word license mean? License usually means it's a type of restriction, right? It means regulation. It means you're allowed to operate a business under the following conditions. That's what license means, right? You can operate under the following conditions. So, householder life is a license for, and then Prabhupada says, restricted sense gratification or regulated sense gratification. And this is practical in this age. It's not practical to absolutely cut off sense gratification. Because in the Kali Yuga, come in. Very good. You have come as we are discussing ideal household life. May you fulfill the words of this purport. A good example for all the young doctors. You are the example for all the lady Bhakti doctors, doctorettes. Doctorinis. The doctorinis there. Yeah. So, it's not practical to completely restrict sense gratification. And therefore, sannyas is not recommended. It is admitted that sannyas is not recommended. And we see in ISKCON, and not only in ISKCON, even in other sampradayas, the number of sannyasis who cannot keep their vow must be at least 50%. So, this is not recommended. When a sannyasi cannot keep his vow, it disturbs the whole social order. Because the sannyasi... Oh, we didn't translate. Nitai, are you following? Are you following my lecture? No problem? Anybody having problem with the English? Some problem? Oh. How many people's English is very good here? Raise your hand. No, everybody will know what it is. Well, we'll get a summary of it afterwards. I forgot to do translation. Okay. Please excuse that we forgot. Tell him, please excuse that Gurudev forgot. Anyway, tell him that I had to sit and hear Prabhupada give Hindi lectures so many times. Prabhupada said that the sound vibration is purifying. So, now, the point is household life must be done with regulation. And it's interesting that Prabhupada says that the householder's life is based on sense gratification, and therefore the happiness derived from it is very meager. That seems contradictory. You'd think it would be that since it's based on sense gratification, the happiness derived is great. But the question is, what is happiness? That's the real point that is being made here by Prabhupada. That real happiness, the problem with happiness and material happiness is that you become attached to the objects of sense gratification, and sooner or later they're taken away, or you become unable to enjoy them. A person, when they're old, like the example of sex desire, the sex desire remains on and on, but an elderly person has no capacity for sex life, so that the desire eats away at them, and they can't fulfill it. And then they die thinking of that opposite sex. Actually, household life serves a very good purpose, especially if one can produce children. Then, children are very, very demanding, right? So much energy is required to raise one or two children. And this is the purification of household life. Taking that is the tapasya, and it is a difficult tapasya. And if one has responsible sex life, that means, just like I can say, Prabhupada said that householders should only engage dharma. He said that the dharma of sex life, Krishna says, is for begetting children. Now, how many householders in our movement follow that? I certainly don't want to speculate. But that is the, regulated principle. And I have heard from the Gaudiya Math sannyasis, some of them, they say Prabhupada should not, they criticize Prabhupada that he should not have meddled, interfered with the householders on this point. Like Prabhupada made a demand, no illicit sex for initiation, and they don't make that stipulation. They don't require that. Now, one could say that's more practical, more reasonable, but if you think about it, even if the householder doesn't follow that thing strictly, at least they keep thinking in their mind, I should be doing without this. But if you drop this principle altogether, then one thinks, well, there's no harm. Now, what is the problem? Even in the old age, the husband and wife will remain attached to having sex life. So the whole benefit of having a husband or wife, where you gradually become satisfied and detached, there's no satisfaction. There's no ultimate. You can't get ultimate satisfaction through sense gratification. It's like Prabhupada says. It's like if you're trying to put out a fire by pouring ghee. It doesn't go out. The only way to put out a fire is you don't put any more fuel or ghee. Then it will go out automatically. So, what's happening here is Kasyapa Muni and Aditi. Aditi's sons have been displaced from their positions of leadership. She's the mother of the demigods, and she's looking very disturbed. So her husband, Kasyapa Muni, is wondering, what is wrong? Why should my wife look disturbed? And this is very important. A husband has to see that his wife is always looking satisfied. And the wife should see that the husband is always satisfied. And the guru should see that the disciples are always satisfied. Otherwise, the guru can immediately say, what is wrong? Something is wrong. Because if someone is close to you, what do they say? The face is the index of the mind. So immediately by looking at someone's face, right, you can understand if something is disturbing them. And if you love that person, you should want to free them of that disturbance. So now the question is how to do that. How does the husband free the wife of disturbance? How does the wife free the husband from disturbance? Now look at the example of Kasyapa Muni, what he did. He began to preach to his wife, telling her, My dear wife, she explained what she wanted. Our sons have been in big positions and they've been kicked out, by some demon. And, maybe who was it, Hiranyakasipu or someone, I don't know what it is. Anyway, they're kicked out of their position. So I want for my sons to again be in position, which is quite natural. The mother wants the sons to be in a powerful position and prestige. Maybe she herself wanted some prestige by having highly placed sons, right? Why does someone want their daughter to become a doctor? Right? For prestige. That's why I always encourage the lady disciple doctors. Now I have more prestige. I have so many daughters who are doctors. Now, actually, I have a different motive in my mind, which I will tell you, but it's not that. It's not for my prestige. But I think it's for Krishna's prestige. Because a doctor is a highly respected person in today's society, and they're influential. So persons who occupy influential positions, they can use that to influence so many people. And, of course, if they can migrate, then they can become rich. Just like our Guru Bhakti, she migrated and she's so rich now. Of course, she's not personally rich because she gives all her money to the temple. Every year, Guru Bhakti donates at least, I'd say, $50,000. I don't even want to reveal. She donates $70,000 a year. And her sister just produces children. Guru Priya told me that I have a sister who is better than me. And I thought, I gave her the name Guru Priya because she was so dear and good devotee. And she told me that this sister is really better than me. And then the sister was a teacher, was a doctor here. And she met me, and just by one meeting, she determined herself to become Krishna conscious, Guru Bhakti. And then she came to America. And because she was in America, she had to again qualify to be a doctor. So she had to take the exams, she passed them. But then she had to do internship. And she applied to 800 hospitals around the United States. And only 1 out of 800 accepted her in Harlem. And she had to go and live in New York and Harlem. You can imagine unprotected lady like that on 24 hours of call. It was so difficult for her. She went through so much austerity. I mean, she's such a strong devotee, And then as soon as she got out, Krishna gave her a very nice practice. And all the money she makes, she gives. So this is, therefore we can say, and she kept telling me, when she first came to America, she said, I said, what do you want to do? She said, I should become a doctor. But when she did this, it was so difficult. She kept begging me, please let me stop this and I'll just be a pujari. And I wouldn't let her stop. I would never let her stop doing what she was doing. Because I knew that this is such a big service. Anybody can wave incense. But how many people can give $70,000 a year? Or $50,000 a year she gives? So, this is, anyway, we got a little bit off the track, but it's not really off the track. The point is, this whole purport of this verse is, and I'm stressing this more and more because I see other people who are stressing the opposite, that there's such a great value to using this world in the service of Krishna. Our process is not to ignore this world, to go to Vrindavan and simply do bhajan. We do not see Prabhupada doing that. And that kind of preaching mood where everybody should just, meditate on going to Vrindavan and doing bhajan, I don't find that to be Prabhupada's mood. What did he do? He left Vrindavan. He left Vrindavan. And what did he do? Just like in the Gaudiya month, if you get married, they say you're fallen, now you have to leave. You're as good as written off in the Gaudiya month as soon as you get married. Their main thing is brahmacharis. Now, and then they have householders who are congregation, but they never think that those householders can do very much within the temple. But Prabhupada had a completely different idea. He made the householders the temple presidents. In fact, when he made the GBC body, he said it had to be all householders. When I took sannyas, I had to give up being a GBC. Because I took sannyas. Prabhupada said you can't be a manager now. Then because he couldn't find anyone else, he asked me to come back. And now most of the GBC are sannyasi. But actually Prabhupada's original system was that the grihastas would do all these things. So Prabhupada envisioned very active engagement for a person to use everything in Krishna's service. This was his idea. This is Yukta Vairagya. This was Rupa Goswami's teaching. Not this Falgu Vairagya, just thinking, Vrindavan Bhajan, Vrindavan Bhajan. And Prabhupada said, you do Vrindavan Bhajan, you become like a monkey. In Radhakund, there's so many Babajis, Prabhupada, one disciple of Prabhupada, sannyasi disciples, when we were in Vrindavan with Prabhupada, it was 1972. 1972 or 3, we hadn't built the Krishna Balaram temple. So this sannyasi saw Prabhupada. The only thing built was his house. There was no Krishna Balaram guest house. There was no temple. So the Prabhupada was leaving, and the sannyasi said, Srila Prabhupada, please give me your blessings to go to Radhakund and chant it. Prabhupada said, there's already enough monkeys there. We don't need another monkey in Radhakund. We know what is monkey renunciation. Monkey renunciation means monkeys live naked, they eat fruits, and they live under a tree, and they live in the trees. Similarly, sometimes the sadhu, they may be naked, they eat fruits, and they live under a tree. But the monkey also has 20 female monkeys. And similarly, some of these false sadhus, they also have 20, sadhuinis who follow them around. So this is bogus. We don't want this. Prabhupada said better to just come and visit Vrindavan, get purified, and go out and preach. His whole idea of the Mayapur Vrindavan festival was devotees would come for a month to India, get purified, and get strengthened, and go out and preach. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's has shown us the example of how to do Vrindavan Bhajan. What is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's way? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's purpose, what is his purpose in coming to this world? To taste the love of Radha and Krishna, right? He's in the mood of Radha, and he's tasting the love of loving Krishna and serving Krishna. And how does he do it? What way does he use? Does he simply sit and do japa? No. He does Sankirtan. He would engage in Sankirtan. And through the Sankirtan, he would get that taste. And Prabhupada, that's 500 years ago. In 500 years ago, you could do Sankirtan as the primary thing, exactly as they do Harinam. Now, actually, Prabhupada introduced Harinam also. And we don't do enough Harinam. Unfortunately, something has happened in our movement, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, in the early days, it was all day long. 10 in the morning till 5 or 6 or 7 at night. I mean, when I joined the Krishna Consciousness movement, there was no Harinam. Actually, I was fortunate to be used by Krishna to really organize the first regular Harinam parties. Because at that time, when I joined, everybody just sat in the temple all day. When I joined, that's all we did. We sat in the temple, cooked, cut up sabjis, and I tried to roll chapatis, which was not good. All my chapatis came square. I could never roll around chapatis. And clean the bathrooms, clean the pots, and then I would just go and chant japa all day. That was the program. Then Prabhupada told us the temple was maintained by one taxi driver, Jayananda. Senata, you're in good company. You still driving? Yeah. So, who else is a taxi driver here?
I was.
You were. So, good company. So, what Prabhupada was, the whole temple was supported by Jayananda Prabhu. So Prabhupada told us that it's not fair. So brahmacharis, you can all go and help. You go out and get jobs. So we had to go and get jobs. Everyone, we brahmacharis. We're all getting jobs. No one was married in those days. There was only brahmacharis and brahmacharinis. So we had to go out and work and get a job, and we would give our whole check to the temple. But after a while, we didn't like that. Association was very bad. 8 hours a day, just associating with karmis all day long. So Prabhupada said, well, then if you don't like this, you can go out and chant on the street. So we went out, I organized the first chanting party on a daily basis. And sure enough, I don't know, we didn't know how it would happen, but the money came. People, because I used to sell newspapers sometimes, so I knew how to, and we had our magazine. When I saw the large crowd, immediately I thought in my mind, this is a golden opportunity. So I took the conch shell that we had and I would go around and I'd sell the back to Godhead and ask for donations. And I remember the first day we got like $12. The second day it went up a little bit. By the end of the week it was $20, and I wrote Prabhupada a letter expressing how much money we had made on each day, because we were ecstatic. We thought, this is it. Now we don't have to work anymore. We can just do Harinam. Prabhupada must have known this. And I remember even Gargamuni, who had Prabhupada calls him Gargamuni. He had a shop, and when he saw how much money we were making, he said, I'm closing my shop. I'm going to go out on Harinam. This is a better business. So when I wrote Prabhupada about the collections, Prabhupada wrote me back, don't be worried about money. If Krishna wants, he can give you the whole USA. But the problem is, what will you do with it? If Krishna gives you the whole USA, what will you do with it? You don't know how to use everything for Krishna yet. Therefore, he's withholding. So, gradually we have, Prabhupada also, I have to say, I think that it's not just, where's the Harinam? Part of the reason the Harinam was de-emphasized was Prabhupada himself. The real truth is that. I got a letter from Prabhupada where we had made many devotees on the Radha Damana party, and we were doing these festivals, chanting all day. And Prabhupada told me, for bigger kirtan, do book distribution. And he gave some story about meeting a Japanese boy in the Japanese airports of Tokyo. He said, we never had gone there, but the book had gone. Somehow the book had gone. So he said, Brihat Mridanga. So part of the reason is because Prabhupada emphasized book distribution as a wider form of kirtan to this age. So, obviously some of you are big Harinam men, but that just is the reality. The fact is that Prabhupada himself. Now the problem is that what we did on Radha parties, we did both. We had one group that kept doing the festivals, chanting, and other people did book distribution. And sometimes everybody took part in both, you see. So, now nobody takes part. Most people don't take part in either. That's the real problem. I think either Harinam or book distribution. But what Urjaswara Prabhu said is a fact. Before book distribution really started, we were going out 8 hours a day chanting. Every day, 6 days a week. 8 hours a day. And we would sell back to Godheads alongside, the chanting party. So, now Prabhupada has expanded the meaning of Sankirtan. And one thing is, our movement was all brahmacharis and brahmacharinis also in those days. Now people are householders. So they have to take up other types of work also. And Prabhupada expected that. When he saw Dayananda, who was working for RCA, he said he's a responsible person. Even when he saw Satsvarup Maharaj, who was a brahmachari at the time, with a job, and he, there was a darshan at lunch, and everybody would keep sitting with Prabhupada, and Satsvarup Maharaj would excuse himself and say, I have to go back to work. And he would say, oh, he is a responsible person. As if to say, you all are irresponsible. You can sit around and do nothing all day, sitting with your guru and doing no work. So, we have to engage. The point is to fully be engaged in Krishna's service. Now, how you make your work transmit, how to make your work somehow spiritualized is something that each person has to think over. I can't say exactly how to do it. Maybe you have a doctor's office, at least you can leave some magazines and small books so the customers can wait. Or you can recommend a vegetarian diet. This practice, or someone is mentally disturbed, you can say, you can try meditating on the mantra. There are things doctors can do. And I do think each one of you in your own respective jobs You can do something. At least you can be a good example. Just like me, when I was a student, right? I did my student Leela. Because the Guru should be doing Leela, not just Karma Yoga. So student Leela. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, student Leela. When the Guru did his student Leela, I wore my sannyasi dress. I always went with my tilak. And I became the best student in the university. And everybody in the university appreciated me. This is the Hare Krishnas. What time the plane came in?
The flight is delayed. It looks like the second flight.
What time? What happened to the first flight? They're sending my books here. They forgot to bring them. What happened to the first flight?
They missed the flight.
It wasn't delayed. They missed the flight.
It's coming the second flight.
What? Okay. It's lucky that my brain is so dull, or I would pursue the question. All right, what time is the second flight coming? Okay. Huh? It's on the first flight. What time the first flight arrives? Who's going to the airport? Rishi Cage, the man of the hour. Well, I have brought many nice books, which you can get of my new book. Did any of you get it yet? Did you read a little?
I've read a few chapters.
How do you like it?
I think it's excellent. You have to autograph it for me.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's bringing us closer to you.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Yeah, this book actually gives more of a personal side of you that's actually very intimate.
Because the school required, they required you to be very honest. So yeah, in ISKCON, not only in ISKCON, in spiritual life, the sannyasi should have no past, right?
Yeah.
Actually, for so many years, I had no past.
Yeah.
I never would, talk to my brother. I had no contact with him.
No one knew you had a brother.
No one even knew I had a brother. No one even knew I had a mother. People thought I had come directly from Krishna Consciousness. I mean, to this day, in 30 years, I have never gone to my parents' home. I never would go. And in 25, 27 years, I only had one contact with my brother. The whole time, my brother, he was actually taking interest in Krishna consciousness, unknown to me. But when you go to the university, they don't treat you like a guru. They treat you like a person. And you have to respond like a person. You can't say, I'm a guru, so don't ask this question. What is my family? And we don't have anything. Like Prabhupada on his passport, where it says father's name, Prabhupada wrote Bhaktivedanta Saraswati. He didn't write, Gaura Mohan Day. He wrote Bhaktivedanta Saraswati because a sannyasi has no past. That's what the meaning of the sannyas yajna is. You actually, there's mantras and yajna in the yajna that you say, which destroys all the past. I asked Prabhupada in Mayapur, now what about my parents? Do I have any obligation to them? He said, you're a sannyasi, you have no obligation. He said, if you want to make them some special object of your mercy, he said, of your kindness, you can do it, but you have no obligation as a sannyasi. When Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he's a Indian sannyasi. He was a brahmachari at the time, from Manipur, very Vaishnav, good Vaishnav family. When he,
The master's coming in through
the dogs are happy. We don't understand the language. Actually, he's saying, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Master. So, when Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he was serving Prabhupada. And then he got news that his grandfather had passed away. And his father, there was no father to do the ceremony, and no brothers, nobody else but him. So he asked Prabhupada, should I go to Manipur now to do the final rites? Prabhupada said, don't go. You have no obligation. I was very surprised, because this is an Indian brahmachari, right? And he's a PhD, very intelligent man, Bhakti Sudhamana. And Indian families are so, right, close. And what message would this mean that he couldn't go? But Prabhupada said, don't go. I was very surprised. I would have thought Prabhupada would say go, but he wanted to teach him something. He wanted to prepare him that you have to understand now, this is your spiritual family, and this is where your obligations are. Sometimes you will see, and this has happened, in this country and other places, people get tested. Where is their loyalty? Is your loyalty to your material family or to your spiritual family? And unfortunately, some people have chosen that their loyalty is more to their material family. The saying, blood is thicker than water. Is it true?
Yes.
No, that's what doctors will tell you. The saying is true, but which is thicker? Not blood must be thicker. But there's another saying, blood is thicker than spirit. This shouldn't be true. But it means that people prefer to stay loyal to their family, even if it means cutting off relations with their spiritual life or damaging spiritual relationships because they're so attached. So here, we're not too far off the topic, because the whole point here is that what is the closest relationship in this world between husband and wife? Materially speaking, there's no closer relationship. Maybe you could also say, well, it's, first of all, let's say, look at it this way. It's between a husband and wife. And when they get older, then it may be between the mother and the son, or the father and the daughter. But then the children get married. It must be between the husband and wife. That is considered the closest relationship. So how does one become detached from husband and wife while living with husband and wife? Now here it's mentioned how to do this. You don't have to do anything artificial or separately. Just do everything according to religious principles. That means have sex life for the purpose of procreating children, raise your children nicely, give in charity, have some puja at home, or come, if you're close to a temple, do it at the temple. If you do all of these things strictly, you will actually develop detachment and attachment to Krishna without any. Therefore, this is the recommended ashram. The brahmacharis they're just taking so much austerity. They could do the same advancement and they could enjoy being in family life, but they don't want to. Of course, I encourage them, because family life is a big trouble. Everybody knows that, right? It is a big trouble, and the brahmachari is spared so much trouble. For Prabhupada, I remember when we had our Radha Damodar party, and I brought all the brahmacharis in Atlanta in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada saw the brahmacharis, and he immediately said, don't enter into family. If you can avoid family life, he said, you'll avoid so many problems. Because as soon as you get married, the wife will say, where is our home? Where's the house? Where's clothing? Where's jewelry? Where are children? And they want so many demands. And because they're so sweet, the husband has to fulfill. He cannot say no to his wife. So he has to fulfill all her desires. And so much energy is going in that direction. So brahmachari is simple, and he's spared this trouble. Now, for brahmachari to remain strong, they must keep actively preaching. If they keep actively preaching, they'll remain quite fit. And they should travel a little and preach. Occasionally they can also stay, but if they stay too long, then what happens? They'll get married. That's a fact. Therefore, unless they travel and preach, it's very hard to stay brahmachari. Sometimes they may stay for some time, but the problem is if you stay anywhere too long, then you start looking at one girl, or the girl starts looking at you. But if you keep moving, then that doesn't happen. Moving target is hard to hit. Cupid's arrows cannot easily hit a moving target. So it's good for brahmacharis to always move a little bit. And brahmacharis are very good for the grihastha ashram. Right? Actually, grihasthas like to see the brahmacharis and should treat the brahmacharis like their children. That means give them ladus to eat and sweet words and encouragement, giving them some donation. You can give brahmacharis donation. That is the meaning of giving in charity. And let them have no difficulties so they can preach nicely. And they're very happy. When we see brahmacharis, we become very happy. They're very auspicious. You can see in China and Hong Kong how opposite they are. When they see a monk, like they think it's bad luck. Like if a Chinese man in Hong Kong is going to the races, gambling at the races, and they pass a monk on the street, they won't go. They go back home. That's true. They think it's bad luck. But in the Vedic culture, we think this is good luck. We invite the brahmachari, come to our home, bless our house, you see. Same with the sannyasi.
When they come to the kirtan.
When they come to kirtan, everything lifts up because they're lighthearted. It's not heavy. But the fact is, this verse is emphasizing householder life, and it's telling that the householders have no trouble. In fact, Prabhupada says they are as good as any transcendentalist. If they live a religious life, they're as good as any transcendentalist. Srila Prabhupada was a householder. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was a householder. So many of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were householders. So householders should feel encouraged in this movement because majority of people will be householders. Now let us see if anybody has any comments or questions.
The Radha party was so important because actually it kept us all nicely engaged. And actually, when you guys landed us in New York, that's when everyone fell off and got married. Actually, we would have kept traveling. Things would have
Krishna Prabhu remembers that when we had our Radha Damodar party with sannyasis and brahmacharis, we were traveling and keeping fixed up. But then we got connected with the New York temple because it was needing people. They had a big temple there. And when we landed in New York, then so many problems came. We were no longer traveling and so many problems came. So, I think the saying, a rolling stone gathers no moss. Nothing can grow on a moving stone. When the stone sits, then so many mosses and other things can grow. So brahmacharis keep moving.
I remember that you said about when we started, we used to go out to Harinam the entire day. Yesterday we had that Harinam party. It was a couple hours, and I saw how a lot of guys were becoming fatigued. And I remember that we go out at 10 o'clock in the morning. They can't imagine doing that all day, every day. I can remember that I would play drum 10 hours a day, every day. Day after day after day, because that's all we did.
I was playing the drum at least 3 or 4 hours a day. I did, and I introduced the Harinam, in Los Angeles. Then from Los Angeles, I went to London the whole day in Harinam. Then in Paris, then in Germany. Then we went to India all day long, Harinam. Here I hardly ever played the drum anymore, but I was playing for so many hours a day. Yeah, we were going 8 hours a day, every day.
And it is so nice here because the people are so receptive. Yeah, they're so receptive to Harinam here. So wonderful. We'd have to fight in Dallas.
Oh, when you do Harinam in Dallas, there's hardly anywhere you can do it. And it's all terrible. West End, where they cook, all the restaurants are cooking meat. The smell is terrible.
Stupid horses.
All the people are drinking. And then there's horses. They have these horse carriages to take the tourists around, so you're playing your cartels and the horses go on. You don't realize how nice it is.
Yeah, it's so sweet here. They don't realize how sweet it is. It's so sweet.
It was wonderful point you guys mentioned earlier in the household. Preaching.
Yeah. Prabhupada, when people would get married, Prabhupada would write, now you have double potency. Husband and wife combined together should have twice the strength. Husband should be twice as strong, wife should be twice as strong. So, yes, that's right. So maybe we get, what we'll do now is we'll greet deities and then have Guru Puja. I may have to leave quickly because I have to chant on all the beads and I have not chanted on the initiation beads, but you'll have some good company here. I will hand over the lead to my godbrothers who will lead the kirtans, and maybe Chaitanya Chandra, you want to do the arti? You want for the Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada? And have a good kirtan now, right? Take advantage of the kirtan opportunities. Huh? Chaitanya? Okay, we can go.
Shri Guru Charana Parama Kevalamba Kati Sarma Vandalui Savadanama Jahara Prasha Heba Baba Toria Jaya Yaharabha Shareva Babato Riya Krishna Prati Hoy Jahar Hoy Te Krishna Prati Hoy Jahar Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sita Te Korea Aikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Sita Te Korea Aikya Aranako Rio Mane Asha Aranako Rio Mane Asha Guru Cha Rane Rate Sedu Tamagati
Shri Guru Cha Rande Rate Se Udama Gati Shri Guru Cha Ye Pashade Pure Shavasha Ye Pashade Pure Shavasha Pashade Pure Shavasha Tana Dilo Je Jame Jame Prabhu Se Kakudana Dilo Je Jame Jame Prabhu Se Divyagan Vive Pakashito Divyagan Vive Pakashito Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Pandu Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Pandu Lokana Lokela Jibana Lokana Lokela Jibana Prabhupada, Lokela Jivana. Prabhupada, Lokela Jivana. Ate Javina Sajati. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoiti, Ate Javina Sajati. Jai Jahara Charito Vede Jai Jahara Charito Shigaru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandu Shigaru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandu Lokana Lokela Jivana Lokana Lokela Jivana Prabhupada Lokela Jivana Prabhupada Lokela Jivana Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami, Idinavine, Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Godamani Pachare, Nivishesha, Sunyavadi, Bhaskachari Satari, Baba.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Mandir. We are so happy to be here together for the observance of the sacred initiation ceremony. Next time you will be sitting here. Some of you don't look very happy with that. This is the fulfillment of human life. Human life, another way of saying it is that human life means a life of regulation. But even that doesn't tell us everything. Because animals also are regulated. They have the proper time for mating. Right. Just wait.
It's getting onto the microphone.
Okay. I'm very sorry about that. That's just the way it is. Now what did you do? But Animals also regulate themselves by nature's arrangement.
व्यक्ति के देन के अनुसार जो जानवर है उनका भी निमित्त रूप कुछ रहता है.
Like, okay. Just stop now. Let me lecture a little bit, okay? No disturbance. But we don't find, for example, that a cow is eating the food of a tiger, or that a tiger eats the food of a cow. Every animal knows its proper diet.
मानव वो जो है आध्यात्मिक वो हमारा जीव है.
But everyone here knows I am the soul.
सब जानते हैं मैं एक जीव हूँ.
But that doesn't give us this, the Atma Gyan doesn't give Atmananda.
आत्मा का ज्ञान है आत्मा आनंद नहीं देता है.
To get this Ananda, for which we are all searching, we have to find out a special method.
जो आत्मा आनंद है इसको पाने के लिए एक मार्ग को उनको खोजना है.
And that method, the best method, let us say the best method, or the method is yoga. And the best form of yoga, or the perfection of yoga, is Bhakti yoga.
सबसे उत्तम मार्ग जो बताया गया है वो योगा है, और ये योग साधन के अनुसार ये जो भक्ति योगा है वो सबसे प्रमुख माना गया है.
Nice Hindi. Good Hindi means more Sanskrit words, because Hindi is derived from Sanskrit language. All Indian languages are coming from Sanskrit language, especially North Indian languages. And so, it's nice to get. Well done. So, Bhakti Yoga is described that it is free from all things which are impure.
भक्ति योगा का जो मार्ग है वो अपवित्र मार्ग से कुछ अलग, अपवित्र स्थिति से वो दूर रहता है.
What is that verse? Uttama Bhakti. Anyabhilashita Shunya Kana Karamani Anamrita Anukulyena Krishna Nushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. Now the auspicious arati is beginning. We are sitting beneath the lotus feet of Radha Vrindavan Chandra getting the arati. So,
देखिए तो ऊपर भगवान की आरती हो रही है. हमारा भाग अच्छा है कि हम उनके चरण के नीचे बैठे हुए लाभ ले रहे हैं.
are in the presence of Sri Sri Radha Gokulananda.
राधा गोकुलानंदन भगवान हमारे साथ में हैं.
Right? Huh? Radha Govinda. Oh, that's very well. And Gornitai and Srila Prabhupada.
गौनिताई भगवान है और श्रील प्रभुपाद जी भी हमारे साथ में हैं.
So, Bhakti Yoga means Uttama Bhakti is the free from any selfish interests, only with the spirit of serving Krishna.
उत्तम भक्ति का मतलब यही है कि कोई किसी तरह से भौतिक नहीं हो उसमें, और एक ही मार्ग यही है कि भगवान श्री कृष्ण का सेवा करना.
We see some reflection of Bhakti in the loving dealings in this world.
हम भक्ति का कुछ परछाई हम देख सकते हैं संसार में.
Between husband and wife,
पति पत्नी के संबंध में,
between parents and children,
पुत्र और उनके परिवार के संबंध में, पिता के संबंध में, फ्रेंड्स के संबंध में, दोस्त के.
Even any relationship is a reflection, an expression.
ये संबंध सब एक परछाई की तरह हमको दिखाई पड़ता है, जैसे
Imperfectly of Bhakti.
ये भक्ति का एक परछाई है.
So, to do Bhakti is not something new. You're already doing Bhakti, but it's not pure Bhakti.
भक्ति करना कोई नया चीज नहीं है, आप कर रहे हैं.
You're already doing some seva, some service, but it is not pure seva.
आप भक्ति कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये पवित्र स्थिति पे नहीं है.
When we say nitya seva, we mean pure, completely pure, eternal service. What is that nitya seva?
नित्य सेवा की हम बात करते हैं, नित्य सेवा का मतलब क्या है? कि पवित्र से नित्य सेवा का बात ही क्या है?
What are the symptoms of nitya seva?
क्या पहचान है नित्य सेवा का?
What are the symptoms of pure bhakti?
क्या पहचान है पवित्र भक्ति का?
Well, one thing is that all material desires are burned away or satisfied. Let's say it this way. All material desires are eclipsed.
ये पहचान है कि जो हमारे भौतिक इच्छा है, इसका नष्ट हो जाना चाहिए.
Is that the word? Yes. That's destroyed. But I said eclipsed. That's destroyed. Eclipse means just like a sun is eclipsed. One. So it's not simply destroyed. It is destroyed, but I was trying to be softer. You see, you used the hard word. I'm trying to soft sell or peddle this goods, and you're giving a hard sell. If you give a hard sell, people will be driven away because they have material desires. So you have said all your material desires will be destroyed, and people say, I don't want it.
श्री गुरु कहते हैं कि मैंने बहुत तरह से बोल दिया आपको कि ये भौतिक इच्छा को नष्ट हो जाएगा, कहीं आप डर तो नहीं जाएंगे इससे और फिर भक्ति नहीं करेंगे.
So I used the word eclipse.
श्री गुरु कहते हैं कि जो शब्द इन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया था, हमारी गलती से मैंने बहुत तरह से बोला, इन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया था कि ढक जाता है.
Actually, destroyed is more correct, but we have to, slowly apply the medicine.
यहाँ पे जो नष्ट सब था वो उपयोगी सब था, लेकिन फिर भी हम आस्ते आस्ते आपको बताना
When you deal with a horse, then you can give a big injection. But these are human beings.
अगर जानवर है तो उसको कड़ा सा सुई लगाना पड़े, लेकिन हम तो मानव हैं, हम साधारण सुई लगाते हैं.
So, don't worry. You may have material desires, but eclipsed means, I will say exchange. I'll give you another soft word, exchanged. Your material desires will be exchanged for spiritual desires.
तो हम एक साधारण उससे भी साधारण सब काम में लाते हैं कि नष्ट नहीं और ढक नहीं जाता है, बल्कि बदली हो जाती है.
Supposing you have a young man has a desire for a beautiful wife.
मान लिया जाए कि एक नौजवान व्यक्ति है, एक सुंदर स्त्री पर मोहित होता है.
Now, if he does bhakti, he will have a desire for a beautiful devotee wife.
अगर वो भक्त है तो केवल मोहित नहीं होगा, बल्कि वो चाहेगा कि सुंदर पत्नी हो, लेकिन वो पत्नी भक्त हो.
If you have a desire, if you're a newly married couple and you want to have a child, now you will have a desire, let me have a child who is a very nice devotee of Krishna Bhagavan.
अगर आप भक्त हैं तो आप पति और पत्नी दोनों चाहेंगे कि उनका जो पुत्र हो वह भगवान का भक्त हो.
Prabhupada used the example that when we take to Krishna consciousness, we are not taking away anything, we're adding Krishna.
प्रभुपाद जी कहते हैं कि जब हम कृष्ण भक्ति करते हैं, हम किसी चीज को निकालते नहीं हैं, लेकिन बल्कि हम उसमें जोड़ लेते हैं.
Without Krishna, whatever you have has no permanent value.
बिना कृष्ण के जो भी कुछ हमारे पास में है, उनका कोई महत्व नहीं है.
So we say it is like zero, no permanent value.
एक शून्य है, शून्य की तरह हम उसको बोलेंगे.
But even zero becomes meaningful if it follows the number one.
ये जो शून्य है, अगर उसमें एक जोड़ दिया जाए तो उसको कीमत हो जाती है कुछ.
0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 still equals 0.
शून्य में हम जोड़ते चले जाएं, शून्य शून्य शून्य, आखिरी में शून्य ही रहता है.
But if you put 1 in front of so many zeros, you get a big number.
अगर एक जोड़ देंगे आप तो बहुत बड़ा नंबर हो जाएगा.
So now everyone sitting here has so many zeros.
जितने लोग यहाँ पर बैठे हैं, सबके बहुत बात शून्य हैं.
Come through. Yeah, where you go? No, go right near the Madagas. Come through. Others are coming? I thought I was late. Hey, this way. Let's sit on those, please. So, you all have many things. You have many experiences. You are what you are with so many things. Now, you come to